So we're talking about a 1 billion ton target in excess. And that was a prediction I made, I think, 2 years ago. This would be that large. It would rival snowfields, which is 1.4 billion tons.
Well, hello everyone, and thanks for joining Assay TV. I'm pleased to be joined today by Ken Konkin, who's Vice President of Exploration and Project Development at Tudor Gold. Tudor Gold is the newest major discovery in the Canadian Golden Triangle, and we're going to be hearing all about some of the qualities of this project. Ken, great to talk with you today. Could you introduce for us a quick snapshot of Tudor Gold?
Thank you very much, Adam, for having me. Basically, it's a fairly old project that's been around for quite a few years in the heart of the triangle, of the Golden Triangle, north of Stewart, British Columbia, in a very prolific mining belt that has famous discoveries such as the Eskay Creek mine, the Pratium's Valley of the Kings, which I was part of. And obviously, we're on the same geological trend as the Sea Bridge, a series of large intrusive hosted and porphyritic deposits.
Excellent. So you've got the Tudor Creek project. Could you take us through some of the attributes of that particular asset?
Yeah, the thing that makes it an interesting project for me is that it geologically contains the entire geological history or lithology of the entire major deposits of the Golden Triangle. So all the way up from the Triassic to the right to recent, essentially. So we have the ability or the capacity or the hope that we can find any type of a deposit within that. So besides the geology, it's located in infrastructure which is only 25 kilometers from a major highway. The Highway 37 runs right due east of us. We've got the transmission power line, the Northwest Transmission Line for hydroelectric power. It has year-round clean running water, which is ample for any type of processing or exploration needs, which is extremely important. I think the other aspect is people don't understand is it's already got seaports 2 hours away that can provide transport, economic transport of large construction type vehicles, are potential concentrate sales, which is currently being used by Red Chris and Valley of Kings. So and an airstrip to the north at Bob Quinn. It hasn't been used lately, but it was in the day it was a very, very well used airstrip. So as far as infrastructure, people think that we're very distant, but we're not. It's got an excellent amount of already pre-existing and pre-used infrastructure that's absolutely essential for any type of exploration and advanced project mining.
Yeah, excellent. It's a great spot with really good infrastructure around. You've also got another advantage in that you've got sort of support from the First Nations and an arrangement there as well.
Of course, yeah, that's another really important part. Yeah, exactly. We've got the Tahltan First Nations, and we have also a good close working relationship with all the surrounding First Nations from Skikalmaka, Nishka. We've reached out to them to actually get to an understanding that we understand that they're the guardians of the territory, and we actually use them as contractors and in support going forward. So we, like I say, it's for the people. Honestly, if we can't do it with them, then it's not worth doing. And that's the whole reason for going forward with these mega projects. Is we put employment and better paying jobs to elevate the status of the local communities for sure.
Yeah, excellent. That's great. So you've got some interesting co-investors or on the board with you, Walter Storm and Eric Sprott. Just talk us through the attributes that they can bring into this project and your relationship there.
Yeah, for sure. Walter, he's had a long history of success in the mining industry. His biggest most recent, at the same time I was finishing up with Pratium, he was finishing up at the Cisco Lake. He was one of the founders that got in with the Cisco. And then, of course, Eric came on board about almost a couple of years ago. And he is a very astute investor, one of the most, I think, self-taught, self-educated on when he sees results, he realizes potential, and he knows potential when he sees it. So I think he got in early and very wisely, and he's a very satisfied shareholder and an extremely welcome participant to our financial backing. Absolutely. So strong ground.
Yes, certainly. Really good to have these big names and successful investors involved in the company. Okay, so perhaps we could talk about a little bit around the actual results and what you're doing in terms of your drilling program and how that's been going.
Yeah, clearly, the success it kind of happens in bunches, and I think the last 2 years has been the kind of the rapid rise in our share price, just because we recognized in 2019 that the direction of drilling, the vectoring wasn't exactly spot on. So when I came on board and with Walter and talked and my participation, I told him he didn't know what he had, because it's something that everybody has been, let me best put it, has been missing. It's amazing how you can miss a massive elephant in a room, how you can well disguise it, how snowfields sat there for years. So when I came on board, it hadn't been discovered yet. So just in the last 2 years has been the fantastic set of drill holes in 2019. 14 out of 14 hit. Some of them were over a kilometer with 0.7 gold equivalents. And that set the stage for what we saw happen this last year in 2020, where I was hoping to drill off the entire system and fell short because we just ran out of time. We started out with one drill in 2019, went to 2 drills, and had some great success. All 14 holes hit in 2019. 2020, every hole but one actually hit the target, hit mineralization. So being said that we went with a 20,000 meter program starting out, we realized we had to double that. And that's why we went from initially 4 rigs to 6. And even with that, we didn't get to the ends of the system. It's that large. So we're talking about a 1 billion ton target in excess. And that was a prediction I made, I think, 2 years ago. This would be that large. It would rival snowfields, which is 1.4 billion tons. And we'll see what it ends up. But so far, our gold grades are better. I think we're in a good spot location-wise for access, which is location. You're talking about these big monsters. You can't have them hidden in the middle of a plant where you can't touch. So for us going forward, we're very excited about what we're going to find with the other targets too that we've got developed. So it's not just Storm; it's the first one of what we hope to be several that we're going to find in this chain.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're a pure gold play. Are there any other interesting metallurgy in there, because you're near the Copper Belle zone as well? Is that right?
It's funny. It's a funny name because I think the predecessors hated the old name and it had my name associated to it, so they probably tossed that under the bus, that name, and gave it the name Copper Belle. But as any good prospector will tell you, take a copper penny, you can color a mountainside. So ironically, Copper Belle doesn't have a lot of copper. It's pretty much a gold system. So Copper Belle was the original discovery. So from that, I realized that it had very similar genetic footprint or DNA, if you will, to what we found Goldstorm. Goldstorm specifically is a lithologically hosted mineralized system, which allows us to have vast volume if you have the right amount of vast tonnage of that volcanic, which we do. And that's the important key to Goldstorm, is we're in a volcanic pile with coarse fragmentals that acts like a sponge. So the porosity permeability is phenomenal for having a homogeneous blend of gold, but it does have, you're right, silver and copper, small quantities. In the last press release I put in, we had small amounts, but it's still going to be over 1 billion pounds of copper. It's still going to be over 100 million ounces of silver, which is basically a heavy number. If you're ever trying to hunt for a silver mine, I tried for 19 years of Silver Standard. Trying to find something over 100 million ounces is difficult. 200 million is considered world class, but very difficult to see that second 100 million if you don't have the first 100 million in your hands. So yeah, for sure, it is a polymetallic system. However, I'm concentrating specifically on the 300 horizon, which is the upper portion that apexes. That's where all the measured aspects come to. And we've actually drilled through kind of a copper equivalent, a gold copper equivalent system called CS Copper Stream 600 underneath the 300 horizon. And then finally, we ended off drilling some of the deeper drill holes that went 12, 13, 1400 meters into what we call deep stockwork 5, which ironically looks like it's going to apex. As we flesh this out to the northeast, it appears as that system may actually be coming up to surface. It looks like it's a sub-parallel type of a feature to what is Copper Belle, Goldstorm, and CS 600. So well laid out geology, well laid out alteration, and well controlled mineralization that we've got under control for the model at this point.
Yep. Excellent. What are the next steps then to advance that? What are your kind of key milestone for the end of 2021?
Great question. You know, when you get to this point, you kind of wonder, you think you're going to take a break, but this is where the heavy lifting begins, because clearly we have to finish off what we started, and that is find the limits of the mineralization, find the ends of the beast. And that way we can actually talk logically about how to approach the next step. So case in point, if we had some really deep, great grades at depth, then had it been an underground deposit, you would do what DOK did, the Valley of Kings. They waited to get down underground to finish drilling that system off. In this case, we're not going to do that, clearly. So we're going to put in the resource, I'll introduce some of the resource now. Some of the numbers came back as being shocking to me. We had a system that was predictably to contain the geological model nearly 30 million ounces is what the target was that we're shooting for, with a billion, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 billion tons of material. So that was the geological target that we had in front of us. So far we've got 19.4 million ounces of measured and indicated, of which drill inferred is 7.9, close to 8 million ounces. That I consider low-hanging fruit, because these were really wide-spaced holes. They were 150 to 200 meters spaced apart. The barriogram dictates that we need to see 4 of these within 200 meters to actually call it drill indicated. So because it's all by itself orphaned, the idea is to come in and basically increase the density in and around the great holes that we have that are running 0.8. So that's the first priority. Absolutely. Let's convert the 8 million ounces that we know that are out there, try and get as much of that into the upgrade the categories to measured and indicated. At the same time, find the limit. Step out, step back, jump out 150 meters until we get a negative, and then come back and fill into the positive. So we'll actually constrain the entire system with drill holes. That's number one priority. Number two, at the same time, we'll probably put 4 drills on this part. 2 drills. We have great success in going north at the the perfect storm system, which is one of the theories I had, that this system is very spatially, rhythmic spatial distribution to all the intrusive related porphyry system, right from Kerr. 3 kilometers away from Kerr is the Sulphurettes. 3 kilometers from that is Mitchell. 3 kilometers from that is the Iron Cap, all on the Seabridge side. There's a decapitation of thrust that decapitates Mitchell, which is the snowfields, comes across off of Mitchell. Same sort of thing happens to us. I think that the Eureka is a similar type of event that's been thrust off Goldstorm. I believe that the distance between Iron Cap, the halfway mark between Iron Cap and Goldstorm, is about 6 kilometers. So the center part is my frequency of 3 kilometers, which happens to be the perfect storm, the perfect structural storm. That's what we call it, PS2. But that one, I think, is going to be related to a magnetite event, because it comes with an enormous magnetite signature. And when we drilled the first 2 holes, it was obvious that magnetite was intimately associated with copper and gold, where it's only intimately associated with a little bit of copper at Goldstorm. The majority of the mag anomalies at Goldstorm are negative, because it's actually indicating a post-magmatic dilutionary event that is magnetic. It's a sill-dike complex that doesn't help us, but it looks like a mag anomaly. And it was incorrect, and previous geologists targeted that, which what they were doing is targeting the waste unknowingly. So cleanest chest x-ray, if you want to call it that, the mag anomalies, which has the absolute negative, is the richest part of Goldstorm. However, my prediction is the opposite for Perfect Storm. I believe that system is much like the iron cap, where magnetite is intimately associated with porphyritic intrusive rocks as opposed to volcanic rocks. So yes, stage 2 is going to be looking at other targets like Eureka and continued exploration at Perfect Storm. Absolutely. Very important to see if we can find yet another 15, 20, 25 million ounce deposit at either end.
Fantastic. So lots to be getting on with then, and I imagine plenty of news flow still to come, even though we're having this quite restrictive year. You're certainly going to be staying very busy, Ken.
Absolutely. I mean, we do something that nobody really attempts, and that is we go over land with heavy equipment, and we've gotten permission from all factors, and we're getting some help from coming in through the Pratim Road and going over glaciers, coming along with our snowcats to assist us with doing exploration in the winter. So our AvTech technicians are probably the most important people on point now, as they actually prepare the site as a safe site. And we go in and we get an early start. And I keep in mind, the very opening part of my statement was one of the most important aspects is clean running water year round. As long as you have water, you can drill. So as long as we have a safe site, we can drill. And I prefer drilling in the winter because it's the equalizer. Snow is your great equalizer. You've got 20 meters of snow development. You just go over top of it, and you don't have to worry about having to use a helicopter. So I've always said that this is a wonderful, beautiful 8-month winter project plagued by 4 months of summer. I took that out of my Russian handbook for running programs in Russia. I couldn't believe how easy the access in Russia was in the winter as opposed to summer, because they just went straight up the valley and in, right over top of rivers, which are frozen solid. But in our case, we're good to go over the glaciers, which I've done before in the past with Pratim. It's exactly with Silver Standard and Pratim. We used ice and snow, and we utilized what we had, and we were able to turn projects that were deemed very inhospitable to very practical, doable, economic approaches. So look for us to mobilize again early in May sometime to start drilling and to run. And we ran into December this year, when again, a lot of people thought it was impossible to do this in October, November. And we continued right into December. And wind's a factor. I'll be honest, it gets pretty uncomfortable because of wind. But if you actually prepare for yourselves, you have the right financing, right team, right drillers, you can do it. And you can do it. October was one of our best months drilling. Absolutely. May and October. It was the summer that was kind of brutal, because actually, ironically, we had some of the bigger snowfalls in the middle of July, which were freak storms, but it threw us for a bit of a loop, but we got through it. We started out with the idea of drilling 20,000 meters. We finished off with almost 46,000 meters. I think we're going to look at planning a similar program, 6 drills. Look for no less than 50 to 60,000 meters is the earmark for this 2021 season, including, I would say, a third of that minimum to Goldstorm to finish that off, and then the other meterage supplied between what we see best. So this is very much go forward and find. And the other big elephant in the closet really is the unexplored land from Goldstorm down towards the to the east of Treaty, because that also is a very highly prospective piece of ground that's never been really looked over. So again, we've got some really interesting prospecting values from near surface on a regional fault system, just like our Treaty Thrust, something that's actually the bottom of that glacier that we'd like to actually put some holes in. So we may have to augment the permits to see if we have time to drill that this year. So there's no end of exploration. And consider this year 3 for Treaty. Even though Treaty Creek's been around for a while, this is year 3 that we've got good financing from people like Eric Sprott and all our high value shareholders. I think our management is excellent. They understand the game, what we're actually going forward, trying to put many ounces on the board. And keep this in mind. This is one that the takeaway is, for every dollar I get Canadian, so we'll call it 75, 74 cents US, for every dollar, The model, the economic model of my exploration is I'll give you a troy ounce back as M&I. So somebody asked the question. I know Eric said, "Well, what's it going to take to do 30 million ounces of resource?" I said, "That's a simple answer. It's $30 million. You give me $30 million, and I'll give you 30 million ounces. That's Canadian, right?" So that's the model. So if you see our resource right now sitting at 19.4, we probably spent just under $19 million in these 2 years. So that model works very well. Same thing will happen with snowfields. And I think I was about $1.80 with Pratium, with the Valley of the Kings when I drilled that off. And that includes some road work. So as an economic model, where do you go in the world where you actually hand an exploration as $10 million and you hope that you're going to get back 10 million ounces troy as measured and indicated as a resource? It's phenomenal. That's just a credit to the system. That's how big these systems are and how consistent they are. So as a geological model going forward, it's all about dollars and cents, making sure you hit the mark. And that's what we hope to achieve in 2021. So the bigger you can think for dollars is what you have to put into exploration. And that's not including the sideshow stuff that we have to start doing, like access things, which are easy. Those are the simple aspects to this. The difficult part, well, I think a lot of the heavy lifting is over at Goldstorm, but yet mines are made, they're not found. There's things to do to look at that upper pit to see how we can optimize it. We're talking about looking at taking out the higher grades first, because the grade of the overall system, some people are looking at thinking it might be a bit low at 0.74 gold equivalent. Only 10% of that number is copper and silver. But if we really break it down, there's zones within that are much higher, 1.5, 2 gram little centers that can be extracted in a conventional open pit format, whereby you can stockpile the lower shoulder rock while you process your best material to kill the capex, to kill the upfront money to get through this thing. So as a scalable pit, yeah, it's got a great future. It depends, and this is where it comes down to: mines are made, they're not found. We found the discovery. That's the exploration, the intrinsic part about it. Think of yourself as a moose hunter. If you're out there stalking a moose, seeing a moose, do you really honestly want to be 200 kilometers from a road to shoot the moose? And what are you going to take out? You might get the tenderloin. That's it. With this one, we'd like to be close enough into where we optimize it and take it all. That's the goal. So what we've done is we've got a 0.3 cutoff on the model for the open pit, which is a standard, and a 0.46, which is quite a high cutoff for all the block cave, the bulk potential bulk tonnage underground mining methods that we may be looking at. So we're being realistic going forward that we would like to take the higher grades first. So looking fast forward, I'm looking at targets like Eureka, which are on surface. If we can pull a 0.7 with a 0 strip, then all of a sudden that's extremely attractive. Even if it's only 3 or 4 million ounces, that's a world-class number. How many companies are finding 3 million ounce deposits today? And here we have it right in the front yard of Treaty. None of this has been explored to that degree. So I'm very excited about what we may find this year. I'm very optimistic that Goldstorm this is the first page of a great story, a great book. This is page 1, the resource rollout. Now let's just see how big it gets. Let's just see how we can manipulate the numbers within the pit constraints to what we can get for value, and then let's just see what the perfect storm has hiding under that mountain 200 meters where I predicted it to be. And hopefully we'll be having this discussion this time next year with an updated resource and people that are saying, see, I told you so. It's growing. So that's the goal, to keep it going.
Absolutely. Well, that's fantastic, Ken. There's a lot of potential, great location, excellent model. It seems like this is a really, really great story that's developing really well. And we look forward to showcasing some updates from Tudor Gold later on in this year. So thanks for joining the Assay TV, Ken.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Adam, for having me. Enjoyed it. Thank you.